Good evening, everyone. If we could all please rise to start the regularly scheduled City Council meeting dated November 4th. We'll begin the prayer. Dear God, as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. All please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll? Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Martin. Here. Counsel Mercier.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke. Here. Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
That's 9 present.
9 present. Before we get into the regularly scheduled agenda, Chair would like to recognize Council Samaras. Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. I'd like to request a suspension of the rules to allow Savannah Pove, the Executive Director of the CMA, to speak on the upcoming 30th anniversary of the CMA, or the Cambodian Mutual Association.
Motion by Council Samaras, second by Council O'Rourke to suspend the rules. The purpose to have Savannah from CMA come up and speak to the council in the audience on the 30th anniversary. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, that motion carries. Welcome to City Hall. Welcome to City Council Chamber. And if you can just state your purpose.
Introduction. Oh, there we go. My name is Savannah Poop. I'm the Executive Director for the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association. And this is Sakith Long, Visal Chen, and Red Mung, and they're my colleagues from CMA. I've been the ED for the last 5 months and a 27-year Lowellian. I just wanted to say I wanted to invite the council and the rest of the community to be a part of us this Saturday at Sampome Restaurant to celebrate our 30th year living in the city of Lowell. It's been a milestone. We've been there for very long time, and we would like to welcome the whole community to come and celebrate it with us. We're going to have the Anchor Dance Troupe perform. We have some traditional Khmer music, and we have some great food that evening. So please join us that evening. It will be a great time.
Great. And Savannah, Sampo restaurant is where the old right around where the old registry used
Yes,
to be.
450 Chelmsford Street, the old R&V building back there. You can't miss it. Big parking lot, big building. So.
Great. Very good. Thank you.
What are the hours, Mr. Mayor?
Pardon me? What time does the event begin?
It starts at 6 o'clock and ends whenever the DJ decides to stop it.
Okay. Hopefully it's within the ordinance.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Savannah and members of the board. We'll look forward to seeing you this Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Great. You're welcome. Moving on to the first item under Mayor's business, we have a citation, as discussed at last week's City Council meeting, to the Kiwanis Club of Greater Lowell in recognition of their efforts in sponsoring the Monster Bash and the Halloween stroll in downtown Lowell. If I could have Mr. Campbell and Ms. Patnott please come to the podium. Mr. Patnott is the president, and Mr. Campbell's the president. Ms. Patnott is the chairwoman of the Monster Bash. So we thank you for coming tonight to receive a citation, but more importantly, we thank you for all of your efforts and hard work in sponsoring the Halloween Bash and stroll downtown. Mr. Manager and Council Leahy had alluded to this and asked us to bring in a citation to recognize you for your efforts. So before I read the citation and present it, I'd like to recognize Mr. Manager and then Council Leahy if you want to say a few words.
Yes, went downtown for the Monster Bash. I walked down Merrimack Street, down Central, up Market, Middle. I have never seen so many people on the streets of Lowell at one time as there were on Saturday. The businesses were booming, and everybody was having a great time. I then ventured over to Lowell High School, and the haunted house, although I was a little wussy, I didn't go in the haunted house, but the it was mobbed and the fun activities going on. It was just a spectacular time. Not only did the children and parents have a great time, but the businesses were rewarded also. Congratulations, it was a fun day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council Lee, do you
Thank you.
want to add
Yeah,
something?
I was downtown, and it was great. The crowd was unbelievable, and everybody was well-behaved, and I'm sure the store merchants appreciated everybody coming in and visiting, and you're going to get a lot of people coming back, from what they saw. So it was a great day, and like I said to the manager, we had the police circling around, walking, and the bicycles and the segways, so I thought that was a whole compliment to the whole day, and it was a great day, and thank you for all the work you put into it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member of the council before we present? Well, on behalf of the entire city council, we'd like to present you a citation. Be it hereby known to all in the city of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We hereby offer our sincere gratitude and congratulations to the Kiwanis Club of Greater Lowell for serving the community for 97 years and doing a variety of community service projects throughout the year. We thank you for hosting your annual free family event on Saturday, October 25th. The Monster Bash and Halloween stroll was enjoyed by all. Children enjoyed the day trick-or-treating in the downtown and enjoyed the haunted house, kids' games, and costume contest at Lowell High School. Now, therefore, I, Rodney M. Elliott, Mayor of the City of Lowell, on behalf of my colleagues in government, we hereby offer all the best. It is the City of Lowell's sincere hope that you continue to work tirelessly for the good of all others, and we thank you. We thank you for all that you have performed for the good of the city, given on this 4th day of November by myself and all of my colleagues in government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and City Manager Murphy. This has been our 14th Monster Bash, and for the last 4 years, we've been very, very lucky. We've been partnering with the City of Lowell and with Cool, and just those two groups enhanced the Monster Bash by having the downtown events as well. So we're very, very grateful for those two partnerships and all of the people who helped it with the event. So it's a great event for us. It's the most fun event we do all year, and we just are so thankful that you recognized us this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Mr. Campbell?
I just want to say thank you. We had fun, so we enjoyed it.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you again for all that you do. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is under the city clerk. We have the minutes of the city council meeting of October 28th. We have minutes from the neighborhood subcommittee also on October 28th for acceptance. Motion by Council Milonazo, second by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor to accept and place on file signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to communications from the city manager. We have motion responses A through F. Questions on motion responses? Discussion? Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. So D, the firehouse roofs, so I'm glad to see we got the bids in on that, and a little behind schedule on that, but it'd be much appreciated to get those firehouse roofs done so they're not leaking, and so they should work right through the winter on that, right? I mean, it really doesn't, unless it's snowing or raining on them, they usually just work right through.
Mr. Manager? Mr. Manager, microphone.
Sorry about that. Yes, the 3 bids were awarded, and fortunately, they were awarded to the same company. So they anticipate that all 3 will be completed by the end of December, but we're putting the West 6th Street Firehouse at the top of the list to be done. So they will work right through the colder weather, but they should be done by the end of the year.
Oh, good.
All
Excellent.
3.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to comment on a couple of motions, but I will start with motion A, the free parking weekends that will take place on Thanksgiving weekend. That will include the City of Lights Parade that weekend, and also December 19th and 20th, which is the Friday and Saturday before the Christmas holiday. So I want to thank all my colleagues for their support, and the work of Jim Troop, the parking director, and Diane Tradd at Planning and Development. So I think this will be very beneficial to get people to come downtown on these weekends. It's a very lucrative weekend for the downtown merchants on both of these weekends, actually. And but through you to the manager, if Mr. Manager, if you can work with Planning and Development to start getting the word out to merchants that this is in fact going to take place, and feel free to market it on their social medias or whatever to enhance their benefit too, and also maybe stress that, you know, them owners and employees use it that weekend too to free up street spots. And but I think it's going to be a lot of positive that comes out of that weekend. And Parking Director Jim Troop is going to issue tickets and have them cash it in, where he'll better gauge of how much more upkeep the flow, the demand of parking will be needed in the garages. So I think we'll be able to gauge it too, to see if it was really how successful it was. So that's great. I think I have a good feeling for merchants on those two respective weekends. But I'd like the response on motion response as to the market rate units in the downtown. And I do want to thank the manager's office and Diane Tradd for their diligence there. Certainly, that's not an easy thing to accomplish, all these newer residents and units that are in the downtown. The end result is probably not what we all expected, but it is what it is. And the intent of my motion is certainly not to put any blame or responsibility on previous councilors or administrations that worked very, very hard with developers to landscape our downtown. There has been a tremendous renaissance in our downtown. There's been a lot of good. I'm recently on this council, but I would have worked very hard alongside with those to work with developers during this time. But I just think we need to focus from here on in. We have a lot of new, about 300 units that are in the works, so to speak, and I think we just need to concentrate on market rate from here on in, and to attract those in the downtown with disposable income. So I think the focus should be not in the past, but from this point forward. So that's all the point I'd like to make going forward. And I do commend and appreciate all the hard work that so many put into working and revitalizing these downtowns, buildings, as many of them did have red X's on them. So there's still a lot of good that's going on. And but again, I'm just someone who looks forward. I just think we need, from this point on, to really put a focus on market rate units. With that being said, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sitting on the floor in front of us are the new signs. I'd like to comment on city street signage, and I could see that in front of us are two signs, one with the city seal, one without the city seal, and it's a very, it's quite remarkable to see the city seal on it. It's quite an improvement, but the thing that caught my eye is that these signs are so much bigger, and when you get my age, you appreciate things like that because it's kind of easier to spot. So
And I'm wondering if we could maybe just
Yeah. That'd be good if we could
pick it up so
hold
show
them
the
up.
people at home.
Yeah. Let the public see how beautiful they are, and you could spot them like a mile down the street, so that's a good thing. But I do have just one question, not to dampen this, but brackets are $8 a set for the smaller sign, which we will probably not be having anymore, but they're $14 for the, does that mean we're putting more brackets on because it's a larger sign?
Yes.
That's what that means. Okay, we don't want them to fall because, boy, they are big, but they're good, and I like the seal on it, and I just wanted to comment on that.
Mr. Manager?
And as we stated in the report, because of the cost, we're going to be doing it on a, piece-by-piece method. As we replace signs, we'll replace them with the newer signs. And try and target some areas to do even more as we can afford to do it.
Yeah, great job, thank you.
Council Belanger, then Council Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would too, I'd like to echo my comments. I think they look great. The ones with the logo, I think it's a pride thing that we have in the city, that one which, that goes a long way. I know there's a cost associated with that, but if it's done incrementally, as the manager stated, it's one we can bear, and one will have a lot of good in the end. I do commend everybody involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I like the signs. I like the logo. I was gonna just suggest also that maybe the logo, the bigger sign with the logo, maybe we could think about that could be close to the downtown area or the business areas if we want to branch out into the neighborhoods where we have the business out sections, and then we could go with the smaller signs for the neighborhoods. If we put those up with the logo everywhere, it is very expensive. But it looks great, and it would be a great attraction to have in the downtown areas and the business districts, and then go with the smaller ones. But I did want to make one other comment with the report. I do realize that we really don't have anybody that goes out looking for signs, but I think that might be something we should think about, because people won't call up, but I know that the police probably run into them, the fire department, and then the building inspectors, and then all of us see them. So if you see a sign that you can't read, maybe somebody in the sign shop, when he's out, he should just make notes and say, yeah, I was up on the main street in the Highlands, and off of Westford Street, I noticed 2 signs that I couldn't read. So somebody should really take a proactive approach to this and start changing them out instead of relying on homeowners and citizens to call up. So that might be a suggestion that we could look at. And again, it goes to your curb appeal. When you're out in the neighborhoods, let's just start changing the signs that we can't read. I know everybody has a handful in their own neighborhood, and we can just start changing them as we go along, as money allows. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If there's no objection, I just wanted to make a couple of comments, as it was my motion. If there's no objection, just from the podium. I also like the signs. When I did see them, they are a little bit bigger. But I do think that putting the logo on and phasing them in, slowly but surely, because we do have to replace signs on a regular basis. I just think it's going to set us apart. Just going to show, the pride, and it's a beautiful logo, and it's just a little bit of an expense that I think will show some distinction and add a lot to the city. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
I suggest, if you want to see the difference between the two, the new town line sign on Westford Street in Chelmsford is on the Chelmsford side of the town line, they have one of these beautiful signs, and then on the Lowell side, we just have this small little green Lowell sign that really sticks out like a sore thumb. So I think we're going to start with that sign and work our way back.
Thank you. Further discussion on motion, responses? And Council Leahy?
Under communications, I just have one thing, not really a motion response, but if I could, I did, through you to the manager, I did talk to Mr. McGovern this morning about the paving on Market Street today, and I'm glad that it's paved and we got it all done. The one thing that concerns me, and it's my pet peeve, is that when these guys do the streets, and I understand it's one of our better paved contractors, but they left a lot of rubble here and there, not a tremendous amount, but they left some caps, some pieces of the old asphalt, and some gravel from the road. And so when I spoke to Mr. McGovern, he did a great job, he addressed it, but we shouldn't have to rely on this. If these guys come in and they do the streets, it should be picked up as they're working, and the excuse that we're coming back tomorrow, it shouldn't be there. It's a tripping hazard, it's an eyesore, and again, you put the effort in, you walked around with the department heads. So you don't want to drive in the morning and see piles along the road, and that happens with all the roads, but especially downtown. So thank you for addressing that, but, you know, let's not put up with it. Thank you.
Thank you for the discussion on motion responses. Seeing none, motion by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy to accept responses and place on file. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The opposed, motion carries. Moving on to, still under communications from the city manager, we have a communication to reappoint Nicole Nickerson, Joanne Howell, Jude DeHart, Linda King to the Hunger Homeless Commission. Move to approve by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger. Discussion? Motion was to accept and place on file by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Mr. Manager?
Yes, I believe Joanne Howell is here. Could you come up and just say some words, introduce yourself and to the council and say a few words?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, thank you. City Manager and City Councilors. My name is Joanne Howell. I work for Community Teamwork for over 10 years. My current role is the Resource Center Director, and what we do is we assist clients with navigating the internal CTI resources as well as resources in the city. We use the approach as integrated resources so that we look at the whole family or the whole individuals, and we try to find long-term solutions. I look forward to working with the City of Lowell and also with their community partners on the Hunger and Homeless Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You are now appointed.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Is Nicole, or, no, these are so Nicole and Jude are reappointments, so they didn't have to be present, but I thank them for their continuing service to the city.
Okay, appreciate it. Moving on to the next communication, we have another appointment. Appointment is to Joseph Antifonario. Is that correct? I was close? Okay. To the Cultural Council, excuse me. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Belanger, second by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Congratulations. We appreciate your service. You're appointed to the Cultural Council.
Thank you very much. My name is Joseph Antifonario, and I live on Pawtucket Drive in the Pawtucketville section of the city. And I thank you very much, Mayor Elliott, City Manager, and the council for appointing me. I just want to say a couple of words to show my appreciation. I would like to take a few minutes to express my gratitude for being chosen to be a part of this cultural committee. I have always enjoyed all the great events we have in our wonderful city. It was always my goal to someday be a participant in the planning and execution of the behind-the-scenes hard work that is so much a part of these events. I've already talked with some of the small business owners in the downtown to get some input into what events they would like to see happen. Maybe a bike safety week with a bicycle tour of Lowell one day, a week of bicycle day at City Hall. Another idea would be a giant pumpkin harvest festival with farmers and crafters on the City Hall Plaza. I think it's important to have new people on committees, a new set of eyes, new ideas, and perhaps a different approach. In closing, I want to express to everyone what a great love I have in my heart for the city of Lowell. I am so proud to call Lowell my home. I promise to work as hard as I can to earn your respect and confidence in choosing me for this position. Again, thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Antifonaro. We appreciate. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is another communication, and that is the city manager requests approval of out-of-state travel for one individual to one out-of-state Division of Planning and Development. Move to approve by Council Leahy, second by Council Martin. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras. Council Belanger.
Yes.
8 yeas.
8 yeas, motion carries. Next is a vote to transfer $30,000 to wastewater overtime account. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Second reading is by title. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote. Is an order to transfer $30,000 to wastewater overtime account for the Department of Public Works to remove wastewater catch basin cleanings. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. I just wanted to explain this, and we have Mr. Young from wastewater. Could you come up here for a minute, please?
Mr. Young?
At first blush, when you look at, transfer to an overtime account, why, are we having some problems with our overtime account? This is the exact opposite. This is actually a cost-saving program for the city. In the past, we've had a private contractor perform this service, and it actually cost us more than the $30,000 that we're proposing to have our own workforce do the work. Mr. Young has met with us. We've met with Lands and Buildings. He's very happy with the prospect of our own people doing the job because they have a lot of pride in their work. And not only will it be done properly, but it'll be a less of an expense for the city. Am I stating that correctly, Mr. Young?
Exactly.
Maybe we didn't have to have you come to the podium. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a problem with this transfer. In fact, I like to compliment Mark Young for the great job that he does all through the years that I've known him here. But I'm surprised to know about street sweeping, and it comes under wastewater. I thought it would come under DPW. I was surprised to know that.
If you recall, Council, a few years back, because of the pending stormwater regulations that required city streets to be swept twice a year, this was under the wastewater purview, because it is statutory regulations by EPA and DEP. So we took it over, and we did it by a contract, and we did it for a year under a private contract, and their performance was not stellar. They didn't do a good job. We had a lot of complaints from the citizens. And DPW the following year put in their own bid, and they were considerably cheaper than the private contractor. And since they've been doing this work, obviously they've been saving my budget a considerable amount of money, but they've been doing a much better job than a contractor ever did.
So how many street sweepers do we have?
We have 2 new ones and 2 older units. There's 4 that the DPW, it's still being done by DPW, but wastewater paid for the new machines. We pay for the maintenance of the new machines and the disposal of the material.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Further discussion, questions? Move to approve by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Next item on the agenda is a vote to repeal Chapter 17 of the Acts of 1992 relative to the financial condition of the City of Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Samaras, seconded by Council Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. The second reading is by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the City of Lowell to petition the legislature regarding the 1992 Act entitled An Act Relative to the Financial Conditions in the City of Lowell. Council Milonazo, then Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that this vote be referred to the Finance Subcommittee for a report and recommendation back to the full council. I understand that what the administration is trying to do, but I have to tell you that when I took the vote earlier this year, I was under the impression that the money was going to be paid back. I understand now with various budget constraints that's really not, or may not, I should say, be an option for the city. We do have a letter from our consultants dated October 2nd, which lays out 3 options, 2 of which look like they've been just put aside as not being practical. But I really think that the Finance Subcommittee should deliberate and bring a recommendation back to the full council. That would be my motion.
Motion by Council Milonazo,
Second.
second by Council Kennedy. On the motion, Council Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems like through this vote, they're asking us to dissolve an act. So I want to know if someone can explain this act in a nutshell as to why we should dissolve it. Does anybody,
Mr. Manager?
or is that too
Yes.
hard to?
No, basically, back in 1992, or the early 90s, the city of Lowell was in receivership with the state.
Right.
And as part of that, they mandated that we, under the statute that set up the receivership program, is they mandated that we have a certain amount in this reserve every year. And it grew to that we had to have $4 million per year in this stabilization account. That dates back to 1992, and we have significant reserves on our own outside of this stabilization fund. So what this basically is a home rule petition to collapse that part of the statute that requires us to have this $4 million in the stabilization fund, and that we can use that money for better purposes. This home rule petition only allows us to collapse the statute. What we do with the money is still going to have to be approved by the council. We do have some plans that we want to present to you relative to our net school spending. But as Councilor Milanazzo pointed out, we have a financial advisor. And what they've said is that you have a liability of net school spending over here of over $2 million. And you have this stabilization fund, which is antiquated, that you could use to offset that liability. It makes far more sense from a financial standpoint when we're going out to borrow money to get rid of this liability. And so that's why we're proceeding in this fashion.
But it's still wise to refer it to the Finance Subcommittee. I support that. Thank you.
Council Kennedy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've had a couple of opportunities to discuss this with Connor Baldwin over the past week, and I think that this is a good idea. But I do think that it's worthwhile discussing it with the Finance Committee. I mean, I was surprised to learn really that this statute was still on the books, because it seems to me that it's pretty restrictive, really, for the city, especially back then when there was a finance advisory board, or whatever it was called in the legislation. So I think that it's a good move by the administration, but I do think that it's worthwhile discussing it, having the Finance Committee discuss it. I think that this legislation reaches beyond just that stabilization fund and has a big effect on city finances going forward. And I do agree that that today, given the fiscal health of the city, there's probably no need for it. So, but I do think that the motion is a good one. I think it's worth discussing it just so that everybody is pretty sound before we move forward on this. And I mean, this is a home rule petition. Mr. Manager, you would know better than I, but I'm assuming that this would have to be filed before the end of the year, and that it would be for the next year when this would be taken up by the legislature?
No, actually, we could file it right now, and it would be heard before the end of the year. There is a process for late filings, and as long as you get the Rules Committee to approve it, it can be done. So we could have it done this year, and I've already talked to the delegation about getting it accomplished this year.
I'll say, Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support the motion to send it to the Finance Subcommittee. I mean, I think in general, at least in my time here, we've kind of left this money alone. Whether it was restrictive or not, it was at one point really the only reserves we had. And I know when we voted to take this money out for the net school spending problem, at least the discussion at the time was that maybe it would be put back in. So now we're talking about not only not putting it back, but taking the rest of the money out and addressing and putting all of it to the net school spending issue. So I welcome the presentation on where we're headed with the net school spending and what sort of the bigger picture of the budget is. We're short on the debt and where that stands, and the recertification of free cash, and how likely that is to occur, because all these things are going to impact in this year's budget. So You know, reserve judgment, maybe this is the right thing to do because of the restrictions in this type of account. But I think we need to have a better understanding of where we're going with the whole budget. And not, you know, we're not going to always have reserves to rely on, so we need to make sure we have these other issues under control. So I'll welcome the discussion at the Finance Subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Again, I just have a question, if that's okay with my colleagues. Mr. Manager, you did mention the, you know, significant reserves that that we do have in the city. For the Finance Subcommittee, could you compile that number and where they come, you know, they come from? I know that reserve figure also includes levy capacity and how that factors in, so I think that'll be helpful moving forward to make the decision on, you know, what to do with this. Appreciate it. All those in favor of the motion to send it to the Finance Subcommittee signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. Next item on the agenda. Item number 4.3, vote. Authorize the manager execute an easement with related Sterling Bay at 576 Lawrence Street. A motion to waive the full reading by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. The second reading is by title to Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City Lowell, and City Council. Is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute an easement between the City of Lowell and related Sterling Bay LLC for 20-foot plus or minus wide permanent public access easement for the permanent use of the public for a public walkway as part of the Concord River Greenway project. Discussion? Move to approve by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is another vote. It's to apply, accept, and expend a grant for $22,000 for the Council on Aging. This requires a second reading as well. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Second reading is by title, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and expend funds from a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs to the Merrimack Valley Nutrition Program to be administered by the City of Lowell Council on Aging. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move to approve by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Motion passes. Moving on to the next section of the agenda, we have ordinances from the city manager. We have an ordinance to amend zoning section 6.1-10, table of dimensional requirements for off-street parking. That is the first reading. Entertain a motion to refer this to a public hearing on December 10th by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rourke. What did I say?
December, you said 10.
Oh,
December
I'm
9th.
sorry, December 9th at 7 p.m. And at the same time, if there's no objection, including that motion, we'll refer this to the planning board for a report and recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries.
Mr.
Moving-
Mayor,
Councilor Martin, I'm sorry.
for the public, can we find out what the source of this was? I don't know where this is coming from.
Mr. Manager?
Since I've taken the job, I've gotten a number of complaints about driveway permits in the city. And the fact that if you're in certain zones, especially the single-family zone, is that you can only have a 15-foot wide driveway. And in this day and age, most houses now are two-car, and so the 15 feet doesn't allow for the two cars. It's not wide enough, so people want a 20-foot wide driveway, but the only way they can get that if they're in those zones is to go to the Board of Appeals for a variance. As a matter of fact, when I was here last week at the Board of Appeals hearing on the Hamilton Canal variance, there were 2 driveway variance requests on the agenda. So what we're looking for is just in that particular, there's just particular zones, not, and I'm sure the planning board will have some comments about some of the smaller neighborhoods that we can also listen to, but it's basically because we're trying to resolve an issue to help out some people so that they can get a wider driveway to accommodate their vehicles.
All right. I was misreading this. That was precisely my concern, that you could have had people have 15 feet, now you're going to make them have 20, which would have increased the variance request. So as long as it's allowable but not required. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Motion was made and seconded and referred. Moving on to the next item in the section of the agenda, we have reports from the subcommittee. We have the Economic Development Subcommittee, which was held this evening. Report by Council Belanger, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we did. The Economic Development Subcommittee held a hearing tonight at 5 o'clock. It was well attended by the subcommittee, as well as Councilor Leahy, Councilor Mercia, Councilor Samaras, City Manager Kevin Murphy was on hand, Michael McGovern, Diane Trad from Planning and Development, and Susan LeMay, our Chief Assessor as well. One item agenda was the personal property exemption, motion made by Councilor Kennedy, which we made a lot of headway on. And in turn, we voted to endorse the personal property exemption along with the recommendation of the Board of Assessors, which will come back to the council for final approval. So that motion is well on its way. Along with was discussion of the potential parking ordinance changes, and it was great dialogue by all my colleagues and businesses and downtown residents as well, and everyone seemed to be in agreement. And we talked about potential parking ordinance changes in the downtown, which would include Saturday enforcement to create turnover, along with overnight banning overnight parking in the downtown, say 2 to 3 a.m. to 6 to 7 a.m., which would make also give a dual benefit for cleaning and snow removal at the same time, and again help get people off the street into the garages. A discount in garages on weekend nights was brought up too, along with advertising in the garages and on the parking kiosks, and it was great dialogue, and collectively we had, the council, downtown residents and businesses all in agreement and on the same page. So it was very productive, and we are shooting for a January 1st ordinance change that will take in effect, but we want to do it systematically, where all the stakeholders are able to chime in, including the Lowell Police, because they have something to do with this, the parking department, downtown residents, businesses as well. So we want to get all the stakeholders to the table, and we think it's going to be mutually beneficial when this is all said and done for the city and the businesses as well. So there will be a public hearing summit, so to speak, if you will, around the first week of December, where we're going to organize all businesses and all stakeholders to come to the table and offer their input. So we made great strides once again today. My colleagues had some great points, and so we look forward to some changes coming on January 1, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion, comments from the subcommittee report? Move to approve by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor to accept the report and place on file signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Moving on to petitions, we have one claim.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I apologize.
I'm sorry, Councilor Milonazo.
We're going to have a transportation subcommittee meeting to deal with the Father Morissette bike lanes on December 9th at 5:30. I checked with the members of the subcommittee, Councilor Martin and Councilor Leahy, and I already contacted the clerk's office. So just so the public is aware, December 9th at 5:30.
Great. Thank you, Councilor. Further announcements on subcommittee meetings? Seeing none. Move on to petitions. We have one claim for property damage. Motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. That motion carries. Next section of the agenda, we have city council motions. First motion of the evening by Council Samaras. Request city manager meet with the superintendent of police to develop a protocol on how the police department will respond to citizens of Lowell who have had their homes broken into. Seconded by Councilor Rita Marcia. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. The motion basically speaks for itself, but I request that the city manager work with the superintendent of police to develop a protocol or a checklist for police officers to use when they've been called to address a break-in. Last week at the neighborhood subcommittee meeting, many people spoke of their concerns about these break-ins. This is not a problem particular to Lowell, but when it happens to you, you're no longer a statistic. It's an invasion of your home, your castle, your safety net. And that brings a lot of concerns to people, whether you're a person living alone, a senior citizens, or a family with young children. Deputy Ryan spoke about doing something similar and that they have been working on a protocol. But we need to ensure that this is implemented now. So I would ask that the manager talk about something which in effect would be like this. When the break-in occurs, the police take down the information. That a call is put into that family the following day to see if anything else was missing or how they feel. Do they feel safe? And a follow-up call to let them be aware of what is going on, what's transpired since that robbery. I think it's all about communication. The more people know, the less fear they have. We know that these type of break-ins, these are part of society that we live with. But we want to be able to assure our citizens that we're doing everything we can to make sure they're safe. And the only way you can do that is not only by the actions of the police, which they do such a great job, but communicating that those actions are taking place. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Samaras. Further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? That motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Council Belanger and Council Samaras. Request city manager review possible lighting enhancements in the downtown area as a further deterrent to crime. No second necessary. Who's first? Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we conducted through the city manager's office recently a downtown business summit that was held in late September. And one of the first few comments we heard from residents and retailers that it is too dark in the downtown. Now, one thing that comes before businesses is public safety. And one thing that deters crime is better lighting. There's no two ways about it. And I think we need some improvement in the downtown area specifically. I know we put up recent New York-style light posts that really are not giving much light out at all. I don't know what to do. They were expensive. They look aesthetically pleasing, but unfortunately, they don't give off much light. And I think we need to really make strides in this department. The businesses have spoken. The residents have spoken. I hear it a lot commonly from being downtown. It is a problem, and it can be a deterrent. So I think it's something we need to look at. I don't pretend it's going to be an easy financial fix, but nonetheless something I think we need to get on right away and address immediately, because this is discouraging people from walking around. They feel as they read the newspapers and see other events, they just don't feel safe in the downtown with the lighting situation, and you can't blame them, although the downtown is safe, I believe that, but nonetheless, better lighting gives you better reassurance, if you will. So I think it's very, very important to the residents and businesses downtown that we achieve this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. What Council Belanger talked about is so true. Many people have talked to us about the idea that there are so many dark spots in the downtown of the city of Lowell. I can recall many, many years ago reading in the Lowell Sun when new lights were put into the downtown that were so bright you could literally read a newspaper at nighttime on the streets of Lowell. But due to energy conservation, a lot of that lighting was changed, and since we've had the new lights put in, yes, they're aesthetically appealing, but the light just does not focus downward. So I don't know if a process can be established where some of those lights can be redone, reflectors put inside them, new type of bulbs. Or if they can't be adjusted, what other type of lighting could be added to this? You know, if you were watching, all of us who were watching the news this week, and we saw Boston lost Mayor Menino, and he was credited for doing many, many good things to make life or the quality of life better for the citizens of Boston. One of the things that were pointed out was that he did improve the lighting in the downtown areas of Boston, and that was much appreciated. And I think that's the same way our citizens feel. So if this can be looked into, I think it's a problem that's solvable, and I think it sends the right message. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. Councilor O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a just motion. I fully support it. And this is a common complaint that we hear about all the time. So hopefully, Mr. Manager, this is something that can be taken care of once and for all, and you know, for the betterment not only of the downtown but of neighborhoods as well. So it's a terrific motion, and I look forward to the response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Rourke. Further discussion on this motion?
Mr. Mayor, I believe we have a registered
I'm
speaker.
sorry, there's a registered speaker, Mr. Clerk.
Carolyn Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. I just want to say thank you to Councilors Belanger and Samaras for making this motion, because I completely agree 100% with exactly what you were saying. It is very dark in downtown, especially with the recent rash of crime that has happened. Making it brighter is only going to deter that. The Department of Justice had a study done in 2008 that linked increased lighting to a deterrent and a reduction in crime. So thank you very much. I can't say thank you enough. So I really hope that the councilors with the city manager and Mr. Mayor, that you do come up with a solution that can make us all feel safer, both the residents, the businesses, and the patrons that are coming into Lowell. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and we thank you for taking time to come down and speak on this motion. Yes?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Sir, could we have your name for the record? Motion to
Philip
suspend the
Pereira
rules.
from the city of Lowell.
Motion to suspend the rules by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Please.
The city has on the street right now an RFQ to select a vendor to replace all of the streetlights in the city, about 5,000 streetlights. That was part of a grant that we had applied for months ago, and so that involves an audit as well as the replacement of all the streetlights. So the audit would involve input from us as to areas that are less lit or need to be lit more. Steve Kuchu has already talked to us about this, and so we're aware of it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the information. Council Leahy?
Thank you. That is a common complaint that we get most of the time, and they did bring it up at the last downtown neighborhood subcommittee meeting. But this gentleman raises a question too. When we apply for these grants, do we have to go to an outside merchant, or, because I'm sure our guys could do the job cheaper? And I know that a few years ago that we had talked about this. They were experimenting with the different lights. One was whiter, one was yellower, and they were going to see which bulb they could go to. But I would imagine it's got to be cheaper for us to replace our own bulbs if we can use the grant money. So I think I would vote for that avenue. I mean, if we could. Do we know if we can?
So just to clarify, part of the grant is for the audit, and then the second part, or included in part of that grant, will be the replacement?
The first part of the grant is to have the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission put out to bid and do all of the evaluation for the RFQ.
Right.
And the other part of the grant is to pay for half of the audit. Steve Kuchu was very interested in having that complete audit done because it also included GIS placement of all of the lights. So he would be able to go onto the GIS system and know exactly where all the lights were in the city.
And then after that audit is complete, and you've identified where improvements have to be made, who does those
So,
replacements?
right, so then at that point, then we would select that vendor to replace all of those lights.
So do we have to select the vendor, or can
We-
we do it in-house?
No, we do not have to select a vendor.
Because it's gotta be cheaper for us to do it ourselves.
Are there any
I'm not an
I-
expert,
yeah.
but I know from.
Are there
being
any
in the business,
requirements
it's
under the
gotta-
grant?
You know,
If we can
we'll
look
make this
into
part of the report, and I know we've already started. I already know we have some of the, I'm not an engineer,
Yeah.
but those lights down there, they're two prongs and they point straight down.
Yeah.
So they're not putting light out like this. That's one of the, so we've already started looking into it. As part of the report, I'll let you know about whether we can do it ourselves also.
Okay.
All right?
All right, and I just have one other comment. There's, just to the manager's office, there's that light on High Street and East Merrimack that's been out for 3 years. So it's not you walked into this, but in front of the old Spikes Variety, I forget what they call it now, PJ's, across the street from the Immaculate Conception. So it's been going back and forth. It's either a wire or it's National Grid or whatever, but it really hasn't been lit for a long time, so.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Council Leahy, request city manager have superintendent of police report to council on whether in open or executive session regarding the collaborative crime prevention efforts with state and federal authorities. Seconded by Council Martin. Council Leahy?
Thank you. So the motion pretty much speaks for itself. If it can be done in open session, that's great. If you'd prefer it be done in executive session, but I'm sure we'd all like to get an update on what happened over the last few weeks, where we're going, where we are. And the discussion could be a little bit, could also include, where we're heading with these other agencies and, some results if we have them. And it's not really in the motion, but I was wondering if we're gonna get that response about taking the cars home too, if he could get back to us on that. Because I know we miss a meeting next week with the holiday, but thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, the motion carries. Next two motions are by myself. Council Lee, you want to come on up? Please.
Uh, 8.4, motion by Mayor Elliott, request city manager report on possibility of aggregating natural gas price for city and residents, seconded by Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The motion essentially speaks for itself, but I know just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Manager, you brought in a contract to stabilize prices, or at least a fixed price for not only the city, but residents throughout the city. So, following that discussion, I got a couple of calls from people in the community saying, can we do this for natural gas, knowing that predictions are that there are going to be spikes. So I figured, I know many years ago we were part of the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative, and we did have a contract, a multi-year contract, so we would have a fixed rate for natural gas, but I just figured we see if your office could look into it. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mr. Ferrera, who spoke, Phil Ferrera from our Energy Department and DPD has already started looking into that, so we'll have a report for the council whether that would be possible. It's a great idea for the electricity, so if we could expand it to natural gas, that would be a real win-win. But we will get that expedited.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Last motion of the night, 8.5 by Mayor Elliott, request neighborhood subcommittee meet with Transitional Living Center to discuss winter bed program, seconded by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Same motion again speaks for itself. Earlier during the week, I met with the new executive director of the Transitional Living Center, along with the president of the board, and they wanted to see if they could sit down with the council, and and I recommended the neighborhood subcommittee just to discuss, knowing the winter is coming forward, and just to discuss the program and what is being done and what is in place, and some of the changes that are taking place at the shelter. So that's the intent of the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Make a motion for adjournment by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Mr. Mann? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope so too. She's